They say that the woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but we all know that they can also be very dangerous. There are many things hidden in there that could take your life. A few minutes ago, I told you about 5 people who heard a whisper in the woods, but the forest didn't want them to leave alive. They all tried to escape with their lives, but none of them made it out. Let us see if you can spot what mistakes they made, so that you do, and end up in the hospital. Or worse. No. 5. The Hitchhiker. The year was 1974, and a young woman was driving down a country road. It was really late at night, and she was practically the only person on the road. She had been driving for hours, so she was exhausted and wanted nothing more than to get home. But unfortunately, the closer she got to her house, the bumpier the road became. And then suddenly, she ran out of gas. She started walking down the road trying to find someone or something that could help her out. Then she noticed a man standing by the side of the road. She walked over to him and asked for help. He looked like a truck driver, and he said that he could take her to a gas station, but she would have to hitch a ride with him. She knew that she didn't have much of a choice, so she agreed. When they got to the gas station, the man filled up the car, and then they drove off together. She offered to pay him back for the gas, but he insisted that she didn't have to. They fell silent, and she started to get nervous because the stranger was driving her in the complete opposite direction from the one that she had come from. All of a sudden, he turned onto a dirt road, and she immediately started screaming. He pulled into a clearing where there was an old cabin. He told her that he lived in the cabin and invited her inside. She refused, though, and told him that she wanted to go home. He got angry at this point, though, and told her that she wasn't going anywhere. He dragged her into the cabin and locked the door. The next morning, some hunters came across the cabin and saw the woman's abandoned car outside. They broke in and found the woman lying dead on the floor. She had been beaten, stabbed multiple times, and left to die. The killer, Eugene, was later found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. What a monster. Even today, hitchhiking is considered extremely dangerous, especially for women. You never know who you're getting into a car with. If you ever do decide to hitchhike, though, make sure that you take all safety precautions. Number 4. Lost. A group of 5 friends decided that they wanted to explore the woods near their town. They thought it would be fun to try to find the tallest tree in the forest, and whoever found it would get a prize. They all split up and started searching, but they soon realized that the woods were much more dense than they had thought. After searching for hours, they all met back up but couldn't agree on which tree was the biggest. They decided that they should head home, but at this point they were completely lost. The forest had started to get dark, and they were starting to get scared. One of the friends suggested that they should stay put for the night instead of wandering around in the dark, which was a good idea. But they quickly realized that they didn't have anything to start a fire with or any food to eat. They spent the entire night shivering and trying to keep each other awake. In the morning, they were freezing cold and practically starving. They finally managed to find their way out of the forest and back to their cars, but not before spending one of the scariest nights of their lives. This story shows just how dangerous the woods can be even during the daytime. Make sure that you always tell someone where you're going. When you enter the woods and bring supplies with you in case you get stuck there overnight, know 3 the call. Jessica went camping with her family in the middle of nowhere. It was supposed to be a relaxing trip, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. They had been in the woods for a few days already, and they had unseen another soul the entire time. Then one night, Jessica woke up in the middle of the night to what sounded like screams in the forest. It sounded like someone was being attacked by a wild animal. Of course, she told her family about it when she woke up, but they had slept through it and thought that she was just making it up. She tried to convince them to pack up and leave, but they thought that it was ridiculous to leave just because she thought she heard something. So they decided to stay another night. In the middle of the night, though, Jessica heard the screams again. She immediately woke up, but this time she could hear voices in the forest. She screamed for her parents and told them that she was sure that someone was out there. She started to cry, but they just told her to go back to sleep. When the sun came up, though, her parents noticed strange footprints near the tent. To this day, they still don't know what those footprints were, but they did decide to pack up and leave. When they got home, they showed the police the pictures of the footprints, but they had no luck identifying them. Whatever those prints were, they had never seen anything like them before. That's definitely one scary camping story that Jessica will never forget. Make sure that you're careful when you camp in the woods. You never know who or what you might run into. Number 2. The cabin. A man was walking through the woods when he came across an abandoned log cabin. It was freezing cold at the time, so he decided to break in and warm himself up for a bit. As soon as he stepped inside, though, he realized that he wasn't alone. There was a boy sitting in the corner of the room who had uneven noticed the man enter. The man asked the boy who he was and what he was doing there, but the boy wouldn't answer. The man was getting creeped out, so he started to look around the cabin. That's when he noticed a calendar on the wall. He looked at it and realized that it was stuck on the same date every month. He then looked at the fireplace and saw that there were remains of a fire in it, but it had gone out a long time ago. He also noticed that the door had been barricaded from the inside. It was then that he realized that the cabin was haunted. Just as he turned to leave, the boy stood up and stared directly at him, and the man started to feel very sick and weak. The last thing he remembered was the boy coming towards him with a knife, and then everything went black. The man was never seen again, but his body was later found in the basement of the cabin. It seems like he had been stabbed multiple times by the ghost of the boy who haunted the cabin. Now, even though stories like these might seem fake, it is important to respect people's property. And if you ever come across an abandoned cabin in the woods, don't break in. No one. The voice. Michael was hiking through the woods when he heard a voice calling his name. At first he thought that he was just making things up, but then the voice started getting louder and louder. It was a feminine voice, and it seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. He tried to ignore it at first, but then it started getting to him. He started to panic and to run around in circles, but the voice just kept following him. Finally collapsed on the ground and screamed at the top of his lungs. After a while, the voice seemed to disappear and Michael was able to calm down a bit. When he stood up to leave, he noticed that the forest around him had completely changed. He had been walking in circles the whole time, and was now in a part of the forest that he had never seen before. He started to walk in what he thought was the right direction, but after a while the voice started calling his name again. He tried to run away from it, but it was no use. He collapsed to the ground again and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he realized that the voice had vanished, and he was back in his car. He had no idea how he got there, or how long he had been gone. Some people might think that this story isn't real, but there are many hikers who have gotten lost because they have listened to voices in the woods. Make sure that you're careful when you hike and don't listen to strangers. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, stay tuned. We'll see you next time.